Before we begin, thank you very much to Master Ben for joining my Patreon campaign. Always good to see that name pop back in. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. I do appreciate everyone who helps the channel keep going because it really does help a lot, and it really is the reason I can keep doing this daily thing. So, as long as you are willing to stick by me, I am willing to keep going. And, oh boy, I love today's like today. So, I'm glad to know that, I'm super busy tomorrow. I'm super busy on this coming Wednesday. So I was really just kind of like struggling. What do I do for a quick video that I can just make and get a day's worth of content out without dipping into my backlog of rainy day stuff? And no. Now the fates just decided to rain luck down upon me. We have a new set of leaks, and this time it is for studio series, not just your standard, legacy listings that we've been seeing here and there. No, specifically, this is all studio series stuff from apparently 2024. This is stuff we're going to have to wait more than a year to get our hands on. So let's continue. Let's go about this. And as always, we're going to speculate, and we're going to wonder just what exactly we're getting based on a few handfuls of names. So, who is in this round? So, starting off with the core class toys, we have Rumble. Again. This is a weird one because, yes, it is labeled as... It's actually labeled as Movie 6 Rumble, but Rumble wasn't in Movie 6. So, I was going to save it toward the end and make it this whole, hey, but, this one already kind of blows the whole thing out of the water. A lot of these that are listed as Movie 6 are actually potentially, which would mean Bumblebee movie, by the way. They're potentially just misnumbered Studio Series 86 figures. And this one is marked as Rumble, but it is a different listing as the previous Rumble, so it's a different toy. So what it is now... My speculation here is that it's going to be Frenzy, or more specifically, it's going to be red and black Rumble. So, you know how they released Rumble, and they did this weird thing where the name was Rumble, parentheses, blue. I'm willing to bet they're going to release Rumble, parentheses, red. And that is my guess for exactly what this is going to turn into. It'd be a weird call. It'd be a really weird way to do it, but you know what? I can absolutely see Hasbro doing that in just a fit of madness, just to throw everybody off. Frenzy is blue, Rumble is red. Rumble is blue, Frenzy is red. I don't care. I really don't care either way. But I feel like this just means we're going to get the other one, regardless of whether it's going to be renamed Frenzy, or whether they're going to do the cheeky thing and call it Rumble, parentheses, red. Which I think would be hilarious. So yeah, I'm going to tell you which movie these are labeled for, but keep in mind if it's movie 6, a lot of these are going to be potentially incorrect, but we will speculate either way. Next up on the list, we have a Starscream listing. This is also labeled movie 6, and I'm going to include it in this. Now, keep in mind, all these could be, like I said, all these movie 6s could be Studio Series 86. Now, if it's Bumblebee movie Starscream, that actually continues that weird thing they did with Shockwave being a core class from that movie, and having a micro scale version of those characters, which honestly wouldn't be bad. I mean, more Seekers, more repaints, etc. It would be a difficult design to do at the core class, which is kind of where I start leaning back towards Starscream. But we already did Starscream, you know? Starscream's already had a run at core class, and we don't need to do him again in Studio Series. So now, which one is it? My wager here is it is going to be a very weird and simplified version of the Bumblebee movie Starscream, and it's going to go alongside that core class Shockwave. That's the only way they're going to make sense. Otherwise, you're just re-releasing a core class mold that we've already had multiple times, and I'm predicting more releases of that mold in Legacy Year 3. But I think that's I think this is the way to go. I think actually doing the Bumblebee movie Starscream is probably the way to go about this. And this movie 6 is probably correct. Next up in the core class, and I believe the last one we have for the core class listings, Mohawk, strangely enough. So here's one of the rare characters from the movies that I can actually see being done at core class, and it makes total sense. And it really makes total sense because I think there's actually quite a few people that really like the design on Mohawk, but the toy never got produced. In fact, there was no toy at all. Like, they introduced a Decepticon with his nameplate and everything on screen and had apparently no intention of making the toy. What's going to be interesting about this is, one, like, getting him into core class and making that transformation work to come from a motorcycle into this is going to be an interesting challenge. But it's going to be interesting for me. To me, what's interesting is the fact that it's going to be adapting a motorcycle that was pretty special. It's like a handmade, custom, like $125,000 bike. There's just, there's around 60 in existence. Like, it's a really specialized bike. It's a really specialized motorcycle. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can even get the license for it, or if they're going to have to go with a generic motorcycle in order to make it. Either way, it's nice to see that, like, that ancillary cast from The Last Knight might actually start getting some toys. There were quite a few in that line of Decepticons in that movie that never got anything. And that seems like Studio Series is pretty much exhausted everything it could do from the more popular earlier movies, and now we're finally getting to do, like, fill-in stuff for The Last Knight, which there are some designs I'd like, or at least I'd like to see how Hasbro pulls them off. So this might be the start of it. All right, how about we bump it up to the Deluxe class? How about that? So let's move on. We are going to go into another War for Cybertron listing in Studio Series. This one is for Sideswipe. Now, Sideswipe, the last time they did War for Cybertron toys, actually did have a Deluxe class figure. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one stacks up to the previous. Of note, the previous figure really didn't look like Sideswipe from the game much at all. Probably because it was actually a retool of the Jazz mold that they did. So when War for Cybertron was a brand new video game, they didn't really put a whole lot of work into making a toy line for it. It was all Deluxes the first time they did it. And then when Fall of Cybertron came out, they tried a little bit harder. But it was still never a line that they really focused on. So I'm glad to see a lot of these designs are going to get a second run. And hopefully now we have, like, designers that have better tech and better engineering behind them. Might be able to get him looking a lot closer to how he did in the video game. Or he might just have a big backpack, a car shell, and just fold into it. Either way, though, it's not a bad design. I'm actually eager to see how they pull this one off, and to see what else they pull up for War for Cybertron. I think Studio Series-wise, that's the stuff I'm most excited for right now. All right, Scorponok came up, though this one was a little bit weird. Now, for starters, in the great tradition, nobody knows how to spell Scorponok's name. The listing spelled it Scorpinock. Not even close. There's no I in it, and there's no C in it. So it's a little bit awkward. But it's interesting to me because it also listed as Transformers Movie 7, not number 1. So what are we dealing with here? Are we dealing with, like, this weird Predacon that isn't announced for the movie yet? Is it a Terracon? Like, is it some Terracon that isn't announced for the movie yet? Is it another mislabeling? And it's not TF7, it's TF1, and they are actually doing, like, a Deluxe class Scorponok like they did in the original movie toy line. No idea. It's one of the more interesting ones to speculate on because it could either be, like, the first reveal of something really out of the left field for the new movie, or filling in one of the very few characters from the first movie that still did not have a brand new figure. Core class might have been more appropriate, but if they're doing it at Deluxe, my hope is that they find some more interesting robot mode for it. They cobbled a quick one together for the original toy. just for the sake of it having a robot mode, but it really was just like the side panels becoming legs and it's standing up. That's pretty much all it was. I really want to see a better take on it. I really want to get a better shot. So, we will see how they approach that. Next, another confusing one, because this one is also listed as movie 6, but obviously this character never appeared in Bumblebee, the movie, nor did he have any kind of rumored design. We are looking at Sunstreaker, and it's funny because Sunstreaker had a toy not too long ago, and honestly, like, I thought it was a pretty decent figure. I'm not sure it's one that really needed to be, like, replaced or upgraded this soon, but I guess we're doing this. What's weird about Sunstreaker is he's barely in the movie. Like literally, like, he appears in the shuttle when Optimus Prime is arriving at the Battle of Autobot City. And I honestly want to say that he's, like, piloting the shuttle. All I can remember him doing is piloting the shuttle, where he's not even animated, really. He's just kind of drawn into the shot. You know, at least, like, Snarl's getting a Studio Series figure. At least Snarl has, like, motion in his appearance. Someone animated Snarl, even if he was just accidentally put in there. But Sunstreaker? This really just feels like an excuse to do a new Sunstreaker toy. That's really what it feels like, because, dude's barely in the movie. Like, if he gets it, then, like, Reflector gets it for appearing in, like a very far off crowd shot thing. Or, like, Wind Charger should get one, complete with the holes in his chest. It's a weird choice, but not an unwelcome one, don't get me wrong. I like Sunstreaker. It just seems like we don't really need one right now, but we're going to get one anyway, so let's just roll with it. We're going to bump it up to Voyager now. So, up in the Voyager listings, we have yet another Junkion. This one is Scrap Heap. And this one I don't think we need to talk about very much, because it really does just feel like it's going to be, it's gonna be the retool of a Wreck-Gar again, isn't it? You know, we're just gonna have 3 Voyager class Junkions. Now, the last one, again, I can't even remember the last one's name, because I didn't go for it. I mean, I like Wreck-Gar. I had a Wreck-Gar toy growing up, but I don't really need a brand new, like, set of big, I don't really need a big set of Junkions, you know, and I'm not really happy with that toy enough to go, like, yeah, I want 3 versions of it. Toy's okay, but it didn't really function the way I really would have wanted it to. So it's a weird toy, though. Then again, G1 Wreck-Gar was a weird toy too, so I guess that's not really saying anything. All right, but yeah, it's another Junkion. It's gonna be weird. We're gonna have a Junkion at release alongside all the Junkion. Well, no, because it's gonna come in 2024, so it's gonna be like our roundup, or like a last Junkion for a while. Here's a listing I think a lot of people were waiting for, and when this one says Studio Series Movie 6, I absolutely believe it. Shockwave. All right, so Shockwave, I think, is, like, confused everyone when his toy was announced at first, and it was a core class. Like, why? It doesn't scale with anything? Why is Shockwave in the core? I think Shockwave was in the core class just because they can make a transformation simple enough to fit him in there. But we're going to get a full Voyagers Class 1 to go with the rest of the Bumblebee movie cast from the Cybertron scene. Very, very happy to see that. Happy to see my friend John getting another action figure for a character he voiced. I really do expect this one to be kind of like the core, upscaled, but definitely like a more involved transformation. And keep in mind, it's the Bumblebee movie with no official vehicle modes outside of Bumblebees. So I really do feel like this one is going to be a little bit more imaginative than that tiny little core class. The tiny little core class is basically just like a mini version of, I want to say Prime Shockwave is like kind of what he felt like. I would really like to see the new one go a little bit heavier and do something a little bit more interesting. And I feel like they're going to do that. Just the vibe I get, really. All right, one more Voyager to talk about. This one's going to be another from the War for Cybertron set, and I think the more interesting one to talk about, Starscream, is listed. So, between the Bumblebee movie Starscream and now this Starscream and Voyager class, we're getting a lot of Tetrajet-esque Starscreams, which really hurts my odds of getting Legacy to release a new Cybertron Starscream. Yes, I have the third-party one, but that one didn't come out in black and purple like I actually have always wanted. I need that toy to get a completely new official refresh in order to get the color scheme for it I actually want. Nevertheless, I digress. Is he as cool to see another one? And Voyager class is going to suit this way better than its original Deluxe class. Really looking forward to it because it's not a bad design. And of course, it's more Voyager class seekers for Hasbro to milk until it is a shriveled prune of a mold. But I like the design, I like the overall look, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it. Nothing really much more to say about that. It just seems like a cool one to do. We got two more to talk about, and they are both in the leader class, and both are interesting for different reasons. Number one, Swoop. We finally have a listing for the final Studio Series 86 leader class Dinobot, and it is Swoop. There was speculation he might end up Voyager scale, and I'm really glad that that was wrong, because it would have been... Canonically, Swoop is a little bit shorter than the other Dinobots, but not by much. It still needs to be leader class, if only for the wingspan. So I'm really happy that this is how it turned out. Now, a lot of people are speculating, or at least hoping, that Swoop gets packed in with all of the missing Dinobot weapons. Now, let's be clear here. In the cartoon, now remember, this is the 86 movie. This is the 86 movie lineup. These are dedicated to being toy-accurate releases. Let's be honest here. In the original cartoon, the only Dinobot with a sword was Snarl, and Snarl is the one that's coming with a sword. Everyone else just had a gun, and I'm not even sure Swoop had a gun. I think he just had his rockets. So far, this line is entirely accurate to how all of this looks and works in the cartoon, and that's fine. I don't really see them as missing weapons. You know, everyone just associates Dinobots with swords because they're original toys, but it's not entirely correct. Not in this situation anyway. So I'm not, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Of course I would like it if Swoop just came with a ton of swords to distribute across all your Dinobots. More importantly though, I always had this speculation that we got those little minifigures with Grimlock and Snarl and or Slug because they were planning for this to take years to get all the Dinobots out, and they knew budgets would be shrinking in that time. So they packed in a little bit of extra tooling and budget into the early figures so that later on they could take them away and get the budget back there without hurting the core figures. And from what we've seen of Studio Series Snarl, that seems to have been the case because, even after, years of getting these toys out, Snarl seems to stack up just fine alongside the rest. Swoop, being a little bit smaller, I always felt was going to end up at the end of the line because that will also compensate for any change in price point and budget that the leader class has to absorb. So I really don't expect him to come with any extra accessories except his own. You're just going to have to get used to that, wait for third-party upgrades to give swords to everybody. Nevertheless, my favorite Dinobot, and I have to wait over a year to get him. Or hopefully he'll come out in January, so I'm 11 months off. It's still a long time to wait for one Pteranodon robot. Alright, so the last one is another really weird listing. Alright, so hold on. It's a Megatron at leader class, and the listing itself states that it's going to be movie 6. So again, the Bumblebee movie. The movie Megatron didn't appear in. Two caveats to that, however. Number one, he did have a little bit of toy representation in the form of a tiny turbo changer that used a design that was intended to be in the film. Like the rest of the Cybertronian cast, Megatron was originally slated to appear in the scene on Cybertron, and it was going to be a design much like this one. This is a high-end statue, but it seems to be based on what movie 6 Megatron was going to look like. It got scrapped because this was still during that time where They didn't know if it was a reboot. They didn't know if it was a sequel, a prequel. They didn't know what they were doing with it. So just in case, to keep the continuity, no Megatron in the movie, right? So it's possible that they could take the original theoretical design and make Megatron. There's also the possibility that movie 1 Megatron is slotted in for this, because there is a scene that was deleted from the movie that would have shown NBE-1 still in his frozen state to link back to the original 2007 movie. But that scene got scrapped from the final cut too, so it's not canonical. This is again going back to Bumblebee as a soft reboot, not any kind of prequel to the original movies. So yeah, I feel like this could be an error listing as well. And it's not movie 6, it's Studio Series 86. Which would be weird to get Studio Series 86 Megatron before we get Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime. But I feel like Megatron needs it more because his Siege figure was kind of a letdown. Way too much back kibble, and really, like, they never released a clean version of that toy, you know? Every time they put that toy out there, it had some paint effect on it. Like the 35th anniversary one with like all the anime shines on it. That was like the closest to a clean one we got. All the others were just like progressively more battle damage than the last. So I really feel like Megatron needs a very good toy to represent him at retail. Obviously, it can't be a gun, but I feel like they could come much closer to like, I can feel like they come with far closer to how he looks, cartoon animation accurate, and still make some kind of nice looking tank out of him. You know, it shouldn't be that hard. The trick here is, what do you do with all that extra bulk? This is a leader class, so Megatron would be a Voyager with a bunch of extra parts, like Blitzwing was. So how do you split that balance? You know, what do you pack in with him? Like, you can pack in tons of accessories. He's got no shortage of them. Do you pack in a little extra figure? Like, do you pack in a reflector for someone to bash around? Do you pack in a hot rod for him to take hostage? Things like that. Like, there's plenty of room to speculate on exactly what this Megatron's going to be, which is why I like doing lists like this, and it's why I like these coming up, because speculating is kind of fun and interesting, because everyone gets their own idea. So, that is our rumored list of Studio Series figures. These appeared in a Target computer, so they are listed, which means most likely this is what we are going to expect in the next year plus. Still weird that we're getting toys that far out, right? So, let me know in the comments below what you think a lot of these listings are and where this confusion is coming from. And what are you hoping for? You hope for this like crazy unreleased Megatron design? Or do you want a final version of like a definitive G1 Megatron on your shelf? Let me know, and I will see you next time. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.